What's a vampire's favorite Halloween candy? A sucker. Welcome to Comic Book Editions Volume 169. Happy Halloween. I won't keep you long today. No tricks, just treats. I have about half a dozen DC Comics back issues that I've recently added into my collection, which is what I'll be sharing today. There's some good stuff, so stick around because we're starting right now. Do you remember the Trinity comic book? And when I say Trinity, I'm not talking about the character of the same name that was just introduced recently as Wonder Woman's daughter from the feature. I'm talking Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. The DC Big Three. They had their own ongoing comic book series. As a matter of fact, I think there was 2 different volumes. This is Volume 1, Issue 1 from 2008. Let me say, putting the 3 of them together in an ongoing series I think is brilliant. Good creative team here. We have Kurt Busiek and Mark Bagley. I've never read this series until this year. This issue has 2 different stories inside. The first one, which guest stars The Flash, features more Clark, Bruce, and Diana than it does Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. But it starts to set the story and the scene for the first arc that's going to play out. The second story seems to take place at the same time that the first story is taking place, but it's going to be the villains that they're going to fight, including 2 of the big 3 villains, being Enigma and Morgan Le Fay. I didn't enjoy the second story with the villains nearly as much as I enjoyed the first one, but I understand that they're setting the ground, and I'm sure that the 2 stories are going to merge and collide into one big story as I start to get further and further into the series. They also did connecting covers for Volume 1 too, which is kind of cool. Once I had the full volume, I can put them all together and see what a poster would have looked like. Besides picking up issue number 1, I also picked up issue number 4 from Volume 1. Now you might remember my Comic Book Editions Volume 143 video. Robb Boswell, #StickyBuns, AOK'd me some great books, including some of the Trinity comic books. I've never read this series until this year. And I wanted to start from the beginning and start to fill in some of the issues that I didn't have, which is most of the issues. I'm really going to enjoy some time sitting on my new couch under a blanket during one of these winter months and maybe spending a Saturday just reading this entire series. I think it's going to be pretty good. It definitely has the characters that call to me, that's for sure. This issue features guest stars, and I'm kind of getting a feeling that we're going to see a lot of guest stars in this title, which is fine. This has the Justice League in it, and this Justice League incarnation features Black Canary, Firestorm, The Flash, Hawkwoman, and Vixen. So that's a good JLA lineup as well. I want to thank Robb Boswell again for that generous AOK and kind of igniting me into getting much more interested in this title. Although I remember when the title was new, I never bought it, was always kind of curious about it, and I think this is a title I'm going to end up collecting. At least definitely Volume 1, and then maybe I'll delve into Volume 2. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's move on. Another series that I'm working on. This is Adventures of the Outsiders, issue number 39. This was published in 1986. So in Batman and the Outsiders, which I'm collecting, you might remember my Comic Book Editions video, volume 156, where I started to say, I don't have a lot of issues that I need to really wrap up the Batman and the Outsiders run / Adventures of the Outsiders, so I was going to start working on that this year. And this helps me in that continuation. So Batman and the Outsiders went to issue number 32. After that, Batman left the team, but the group stayed together. At that time, they launched a new direct sales Baxter Series called The Outsiders with issue number 1. And that was set in the very near future. In the meantime, they published 6 issues under Adventures of the Outsiders, continuing the numbering from Batman and the Outsiders. So 33 to 38 were all new original stories, which I had in my collection as a childhood collector. This is issue 39. This is the first reprint. So this came out in 1986. It's reprinting 1985's Outsiders #1, the Baxter series that I was just talking about. And that's what this title would do until it got canceled, which actually wasn't a whole lot longer. It didn't even last, I think, a full year after it went into reprints. I showed you some more of the Batman and the Outsiders / Adventures of the Outsiders issues that I added into my collection in my Comic Book Editions Volume 158 video. Here's Adventures of the Outsiders Volume 1, issue number 40. And as you suspect, it is a reprint of Outsiders issue number 2. So this was something that DC was doing at the time. They had this really nice deluxe Baxter series, they called it, because it was on this Baxter paper, which was much more nicer than the regular newsstand paper. But these direct series were only for sale in comic book stores. And then the goal was about a year later to reprint those issues for the first time available on newsstand. They did that with New Teen Titans, they did it with The Outsiders, and they did it with Legion of Superheroes. And one more from the Adventures of the Outsiders run, issue number 41. This is now from early 1987, reprinting Batman and the Outsiders, the direct Baxter series, issue number 3. Yeah, that's what's reprinted inside this one. So I think there's only maybe 3 more issues that I need to be able to complete this entire run. I've already done all of the Batman and the Outsiders, and I think I only need like 3 issues to complete the Adventures of the Outsiders run. Right now, no plans on working on the Baxter series direct The Outsiders title, but then you never know. See, back as a childhood collector, reprints were very undesirable, and I think that's why that when they stopped publishing original stories with issue 38 that I didn't continue on. But now I just want to fill in my runs and have complete. I don't want to have gaps or holes in titles that I seem to have the majority of books on. That's what I'm trying to do, is fill in a lot of those gaps and holes in the titles. So I'll say another thing too. I don't see a lot of the Adventures of the Outsiders books while I'm hunting, in the wild at least. These are very cheap books. These are like dollar books. So, but I also get it too when you go to a comic show, a dealer's not going to bring a book like this because there's not really a demand for it. So why would you bring it? But one way or another, I'll get the full collection taken care of. I assume sooner than later. And although Batman isn't in the stories that I just showed you in these Adventures of the Outsiders because he had quit the group by this time, let's show some Batman books before I wrap up this video. Let's go back to The Brave and the Bold, Volume 1. This is issue 188, and this was published in 1982. Batman teaming up with Rose and Thorn. So you might have seen me talking about Rose and Thorn a lot recently, especially this summer. I've seen to pick up a lot of back issues from the Lois Lane series in the early Bronze Age, in the early 1970s, that featured Lois Lane's story in the front and then Rose and Thorn. So Rose and Thorn, it's actually one woman who has split personalities. Rose Forrest is her name, and she's not even aware that she becomes a vigilante named the Thorn at Night, who's out to avenge the death of her father, who was killed by this gangster group called the 100. It's a terrorist organization, the 100. And she's not even aware that she's the Thorn. This is published, a good decade after those Lois Lane stories. Robert Kaniger, who was kind of the creator of Rose and Thorn in this reincarnation, he also wrote this story. This fell a little bit flat for me. So essentially, Batman is trying to investigate and find this Nazi serum or this Nazi gas or something like that. And at the same time, Thorn, Rose Forrest, first finds out that her father's grave has been robbed. So that sends the Thorn into action. And the Thorn and Batman end up colliding together on a mission. So not only does that happen in this issue, it continues into the next issue. So Brave and the Bold, Volume 1, issue number 189. I don't remember a lot of Brave and the Bold comic books where it was two-parters with the same guest as the headliner in the second issue. I don't remember. Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. If you can think of one, make sure to leave me a comment below. Because, just like I said, off the top of my head, I can't think of another time that they did this. Robert Kanigher's story, Robert Kanigher has seemed to work on a lot of characters that I really like. Some of his work's okay. Some of his work is a little bit out there. This one I didn't enjoy as much as I said along with the previous issue. I do remember a little bit of flirting happening between Batman and the Thorn, which was kind of interesting. I do really like the Jim Aparo artwork. And this is the first time I remember seeing Jim Aparo draw the Thorn. So I thought that was good. I think Jim Aparo can just draw pretty much anything really good, but I really like the way that he drew the Thorn. So being such a fan of, becoming such a bigger fan as it goes on of Rose and Thorn, this is just books that I wanted to have in my collection. Are they stories I'm going to pull out all the time and reread because I just loved them so much? Probably not. Would I flip through them to enjoy the artwork again? Definitely. So I said this was going to be a shorter haul today, and it is. I just wanted to share those with you. But don't go away because I have some stuff to tell you about, like hashtag KeepJenReading. Comics Will Break Your Heart is fighting for her life. She has cancer, and there is a GoFundMe page to help out with her medical expenses. If you can donate any amount, it certainly is appreciated. If you can even share the page so they can continue the fundraising. The goal is to get to $25,000. And I know Jen would appreciate it and her family would appreciate it more. Cancer sucks big time. And how do you pay for something like that, If there's any extra that you can contribute to that cause, or at least share the page, it would be appreciated. The link to the GoFundMe is in the description for this video. I mentioned Halloween, and I have a Halloween-themed back issue of the week. It's Marvel. It is a Vision and Scarlet Witch story. So you're going to get a witch and actually some zombies in the story. That's the back issue of the week. And Marvel fans, I know I've been showing so much DC. It seems like most of my back issues has been so DC heavy. But I have been buying some Marvel that you'll be seeing coming up on the channel. There's a couple books of Marvel that I'm pretty excited to share with you in the near future on my channel. So stick with me. See more videos and support this channel by subscribing if you're not subscribed already. Sharing my channel and this video with someone that you think might enjoy it's another great way to show support. Give the video a thumbs up, a heart, a like, because I would appreciate that. Fanboys Live and the Retro Review falls on Comic Fu 2814's channel this upcoming Sunday. Comic Fu 2814, Signature King Tony Fett, and myself. Retro reviewing a book and giving you the latest DC Comics news. You'll find out why it's the greatest DC Comics show on YouTube. This Sunday night, 8:15 Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central. That brings an end to this Comic Book Editions Volume 169 video. Thank you for watching. Go trick-or-treating. Happy Halloween. Thank you for your friendship. I truly mean it. And I'll catch you next week, if not sooner. Bye.